You're inside a customer's house looking at some interior damage, and you go into their HVAC closet and you notice the drywall isn't painted and it's not finished out. You do notice the seams are covered, but it's not finished out, it's not textured like the rest of the house. Then you start thinking, well great, this drywall's damaged. What line items should I use to estimate this damaged drywall? Well, we'll talk about it. Hey everybody, this is Andy with Patterson Adjuster Training. In this video, we're going to talk about fire taping. Recently, I was in a home where their hot water heater failed, and so they had to replace it, but it damaged some drywall in there. In this hot water heater closet, they had the drywall hung, but it wasn't finished out, it wasn't painted like the rest of the house. The reason being is when the house is built, they're not going to spend a lot of money or a lot of time and effort on areas that nobody is ever going to see except for just the homeowner. So you can see here in this hot water heater closet, they just threw some mud up, threw some tape up, and called it good. Is that sloppy work? No, it's actually called fire taping. What fire taping is in these areas such as a mechanical closet, HVAC closet, hot water heater closet, they don't finish these areas out like they do the rest of the house. Now I know what you're thinking, why even put any joint compound on these seams? Well, it's called fire taping. Now fire taping is kind of a misnomer. It doesn't make it fireproof. All they're really doing is just putting a level 1 finish on the drywall, which means they're putting their joint compound on the seam, and then they're taking their drywall tape and bedding it into that mud. Now sometimes they'll even put a light coat of joint compound over the tape, but then they're walking away from it. They're not worried about rough edges, they're not sanding it, they're simply just putting joint compound, tape, and walking away. That's called fire taping. And the reason why they do that is when you butt drywall together, there's a little bit of airflow in between those seams. Now if fire breaks out in the house, that airflow is going to allow that fire to spread more easily than it would if that was an airtight seal. And so that's what fire taping is. It tapes those seams up to prevent any airflow out of those seams. And in theory, it's supposed to slow down the spread of fire should it break out in the customer's home. Now, how does that look when a contractor does that? I was doing some work in a shop, and after I hung the drywall, I did some fire taping. So this quick video, you can see me doing some fire taping. You can see the drywall is hung. Now I'm putting my joint compound on the horizontal seam. Now I'm going to come back with my joint tape and I'm going to push it into the joint compound, and then I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to bed that tape into the joint compound. Now here I'm coming back and doing a quick skim coat over the joint tape. I'm not worried about rough edges, I'm not worrying about sanding it. I'm simply just covering the seam and walking away. That is called fire taping. Now when you go to a customer's house and you're estimating drywall in one of these areas, it may or may not be painted. You can fire tape a room and then paint over it. The tape job is going to look terrible because it's not sanded typically, but just make sure you're using the right line code when you're estimating this. The line code you should be using for 1/2 inch drywall that's fire taped is DRY 1/2 inch FT for fire tape. If the drywall is 5/8 inch, then you're going to use DRY 5/8 FT for fire tape. So just make sure you're using the right line code when you're out there looking at these areas. Now if the area that you're looking at is completely finished out, it has a knockdown finish or a orange peel finish or a skip trowel finish, then you need to use the right line code for that. But the mistake I see a lot of people, especially being new, is they go into these areas and they look at it and they're not sure what they need to put on there. They see that the drywall has been hung and tape is on the wall, but they're not really sure what that's called. It's called fire taping. So anyway, guys, I hope that video helps. I will see you in the next one.